Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the DRF Bets race of the day for Thursday, March the 29th. We're kicking off the pick 5 at the great race place Santa Anita, race number 4. It's a mile on the turf. If you sign up for DRF Bets, you access a nice deal, $150 bonus, drf.com/joins where you need to go to sign up. The promo code is TV150. Let's take a look at some of these stakes class horses running in this optional claiming event. Again, it's race number 4 at Santa Anita, and you can access free formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page on drf.com. Download them and handicap along with us. We'll take this field in post position order. Matt, the number 1 Simple Man I thought was helped by a fast pace last time out. The winner Double Touch came from dead last. Simple Man was also lurking near the back of the pack, and he came with a big run. He might get another fast pace, but something tells me these are tougher horses.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I kind of feel like everything just worked out for him most recently. That was first thought off a little bit of a layoff, nothing too significant, only about 6-7 weeks. The other thing for me that's interesting about this race, Mandela stretches him out. Gary Mandela stretches him out in the past 5 years. Sprint to route has been just a dreadful number, 2 for 40. So this hasn't been a positive move. You combine that with the perfect scenario last time out, and now against better horses here today. I don't love him.
Conversely, Free Rose, we think, has to be considered in any kind of multiple race wagers. And again, this kicks off the pick 5. This horse in the San Marcos last time out wasn't beating It's in the Post. Nobody's beating It's in the Post in Southern California right now. I don't think it helped that he got shuffled back on the turn. It probably cost him 3rd that day. And last time out in the Kilroe, I wanted to give him an outside chance, and that pace was just blistering hot. And Free Rose was chasing, and they paid the price. That pace completely collapsed. So I've got excuses for Free Rose's last couple of races. The race before that, the San Gabriel, was his first start of a lengthy layoff. I got an excuse for that race. Then I'm left with a 103 buyer in the Shoemaker Mile. He runs anything close to that, he's going to be tough.
Certainly is, yeah. If you think he can get to a low 100, he's probably going to win this race, period, even considering all the backclass that these runners have. I suppose I'm going to take the sort of opposite stance, where he is certainly a horse that you need to consider in multi-race bets. Like you say, if you're playing the kickoff leg of the pick 5, you have to use him. But I'm kind of looking at it saying we're at the point now, and you're right, you can make excuses for all certain these most recent races. We're at the point now where he hasn't won a race since September of 2016. So at a what should be a price that he's going to get bet, I'd imagine he's going to be vying for favoritism in here. I don't know that I'm entirely convinced that he's the same Free Rose that we once saw.
Wonder if he works out a trip, though, from a time-form U.S. pace projector standpoint. We'll take a look at that right now. Now, no surprise the Six Summers image we'll get to him's out there on the lead. No surprise that Kenji Storm, who's a fast horse, is out there as well. I wonder if Joe Talamo on Free Rose, he lets those 2 horses go, tries to tuck into the pocket and save a little something late, because last time out there was nothing left late after chasing that fast pace.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real scenario where he works out the perfect trip in here. If he sits into the pocket, let those other horses go, you know that the 6, I shouldn't say but in all likelihood, the 6 ends up backing up at some point. And you have questions about Kenji Storm and some of those other horses that are forward. If you think that Free Rose, he just needed a little bit of a class boost, or a confidence booster here, rather, with that class relief, he could certainly work out the perfect trip.
The number 3, Ward and Jerry, popped to 120 time-form U.S. pace speed figure in his most recent start, a 92 buyer speed figure. All in all, it was a good effort. The problem is it came way back in March. He had to come very wide turning into the stretch that day. All in all, a good effort. He likes Santa Anita. This layoff, though, is kind of scaring me away.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a long time to be away, a long time between drinks just as far as races are concerned. When it's all said and done, it's going to be a day short of a year. Also, that last run that he had, the non-winners of 3 life, or 3 other than, a lot of horses that I'm a fan of, but at the same time, I don't think they're as talented as the horses he's facing here in this race on Thursday. I think he's going to need to up his game and be ready to go off of a long layoff.
Fabazzi had the race off the long layoff. He was just completely overmatched in the Grade 3 Daytona at a distance that might be a little bit shorter than he prefers. He can certainly improve in his second start of the form cycle, and he does have a good amount of tactical speed. He has buyer speed figures, mid-90s, that would make him a contender. I just wished he did a little bit more last time out, although I do realize he was probably overmatched.
No, I agree with that. I would have liked to have seen some sort of finish out of him. He was pretty spent early on, and again, you're right. He was in a race that was much too short for his ability, and Mark Glatt does very well with the stretch out second off the bench. But at the same time, there's a part of me that looks at it and says it seems like whenever he's gotten the acid test against better horses, he hasn't passed it. And I think this is borderline a stakes caliber field. to me, I think he might be in a little bit tough.
The last time Kenji's Storm ran was in against Hunt, who at that point in time was razor sharp. He came back to win the graded Del Mar handicap with a 104 buyer. Kenji Storm's one of the few horses in this race capable of earning a triple-digit buyer speed figure. He earned a 120 time form U.S. figure in that Eddie Reed. Now he's going to have to deal with a little bit of a layoff as well, but he's with Phil D'Amato, who does well with these kind of horses.
Yeah, certainly. This is a horse I've always been a big fan of. I love that he's got some serious early speed. He can sit a little bit, but he's going to be forwardly placed. You know that. And like you say, D'Amato, he does well with these kind of horses, particularly off of long layoffs from a buyer's standpoint. If he comes with one of his better efforts, he has to be viewed as a contender.
Lightly raced 4-year-old Summers Image is expected to set the pace. He went way too fast with the addition of blinkers last time out in that unusual Heat Turf Classic for Calabreds. I mean, just check out the time form U.S. PPs for that one. Just color-coded, absolutely red. He had no shot. He might be able to get to an easier lead this time around, but boy, at some point, Kenji's Storm's coming. At some point, Free Rose is coming, and then the closers are coming.
Yeah, it just feels like I don't want to knock the horse too much because he's 3 for 7. He likes to go out and win races, but at the same time, I think you have to ride him like they rode him in that Turf Classic, and it just didn't work. And you could make the case that he faced lesser horses in that Turf Classic. This is a better field, I think, maybe at a more favorable distance for him, but I think you're going to get something very similar, speed and fade.
Perfectly Majestic, like Free Rose, hasn't won in a long time, but I think he can make excuses for some of his races. 2 starts back in that Clocker's Corner. It was his first start off of a long layoff, and we talked about that race on Out of the Gate. He made a strong mid-race move into a race with no pace and then understandably flattened out against Calculator, a truly graded stakes caliber turf sprinter. And then last time out in the Daytona against Conquest Tsunami, he caught no pace whatsoever and was just kind of flat. I like him stretching out after a couple of sprints. Maybe there'll be some hitting up front. Perfectly Majestic, he's got to stay around that 9 to 2, 5 to 1. Anything shorter than that to me is Underlay City.
So when I first went through this, I liked him in the Daytona, and you're right, the pace just didn't materialize. I thought he ran really well in that Clocker's Corner 2 starts back. And when I first looked at this race, I said, you know what, he's going to work out a good trip in here. He's going to get the pace that he needs. And I don't know if I'm making a fatal error right here. Bob Hess, I think, does a tremendous job across the board. Past 5 years, turf sprinter out, he's 0 for 44. We're not dealing with a small sample size. 44 starts is a significant number. This horse has always been a little bit more underneath than on top, but I've always thought he's actually better than what the page would suggest. I'm torn on him. I like him. I think he has a big chance in here. That formulator fact, right or wrong, it scares me.
Speaking of formulator facts, we got a positive one for Isotherm, who completes this field. This one also trained by Phil D'Amato. 29% winners in its Santa Anita optional claiming race turf routes for older horses. First start off a 45-day layoff or better. We loved his race in the San Marcos last year and thought he could be an important turf horse out on the West Coast. They ran him in the big camp. Something must have happened. He went away for a long time. You don't hold the San Gabriel against him off of a long layoff. And last time out on the San Marcos, he was chasing a very fast pace against It's in the Post, but tired. Here's one of the reasons why I'm against Isotherm, though. Free Rose was also chasing that fast pace. Free Rose finished ahead of Isotherm. Free Rose might be a better price than Isotherm this time around. I wonder if Isotherm hasn't recovered from that big camp debacle yet.
You know what? I agree with you 100%. And the other thing that just kind of sticking with me, right or wrong, fair or not to this horse, I kind of feel like they could have run him easily in the San Luis Rey, and I know it was a salty spot. You had It's in the Post, you had Hayabusa 1 and other runners. You chose to go to this spot here, just look, it's a good race, don't get me wrong, but it's not a graded race. To me, it's just not the most positive move, and I agree with you. He'd been gone for a long time, and maybe he just hasn't returned the same horse.
Take a look at our top selections for race number 4 at Santa Anita. It's your Thursday DRF Bets race of the day. You're going with Kenji's Storm. He might inherit this. He's probably going to be chasing the longest shot on the board, and he might take this thing turning over into the stretch. And then you're trusting D'Amato's training off the bench.
Yeah, and you know what? I think if he runs his best race, I think his best race is every bit as good, if not better, than anyone else's in this field. And if there's a scenario where Summers Image spits it, he inherits this thing. You know, if I've got to get into a pitch battle with Free Rose and then have to deal with Perfectly Majestic and everyone else coming from the back, I'll take my chances. I think when he's right, and we'll find out if he is right, but I have faith in Phil D'Amato. I think if Kenji Storm is right, he's the play.
I respect Kenji Storm. I think he's going to run well. I wonder if the layoff does get to him. I'm going to go with Perfectly Majestic, hoping that this pace heats up at the middle part, sets things up for him late. You know I'm Free Rose's biggest fan. I got to use him a little bit. Heck, I used him against World Approval and Company in the kill row last time out. Matt's going with the 5, Kenji Storm. I'll take the 7, Perfectly Majestic. If you're playing the Great Race Place card on Thursday, here's the deal. $150 bonus, drf.com/join, promo code TV. 150. Sign up to DRF Bet. Start punching away. Approximate post time for race number 4. Stakes Caliber. Optional claimer at Santa Anita. It's 1:30 Pacific. Good luck.